I think what makes the theaters versus streaming conversation so complex is that you guys are so divided on it. It not only makes it a complex conversation, but a real head scratcher for Hollywood, because audiences themselves haven't made a clear decision as to what they want to do. Look at this poll I took the other day. Have you ever seen such an evenly divided poll? We can't, the audience, well, I know what I want, and you guys are like, I know what I want, but we don't. There's no consensus as to what we all want. As I've said many times, moviegoing is a mass sales business. Fine art, you just got to sell it to one person, but you have to do mass ticket sales for a movie to be successful. And right now, people can't agree if they want something to stay in theaters, or if they want stuff to go on streaming. They can't agree if they want it to go on a subscription service, or if they want it to go on PVOD. And if on PVOD, premium video on demand, where you buy it or rent it with a single purchase point, like on iTunes or Amazon or stuff like that, you guys got to be learning the lingo at this point, right? But I'm happy to walk you through it again. But nobody can decide on the price point for PVOD even. Some of you won't go higher than 20, but some of you are willing to go higher. And I don't know if 20 is a sustainable price point for especially a movie like Wonder Woman, who is going to factor into this conversation. But the headline is, before we get to the details, is that as I predicted, and as many of you suspected as well, because it's the obvious move, Disney is putting Soul on Disney Plus. But here's the twist, two twists. For no extra money, and also on Christmas Day. And another movie comes out on Christmas Day that's thinking of having a digital part of its strategy. And now that's pretty much dead. We're going to break it all down. It's juicy, it's fascinating, and it's another day during this pandemic in Hollywood. All right, today is also a day of things I've been discussing with you coming together. Earlier, the MCU multiverse continues to assemble, and now another strange world assembles, streaming. And to be clear, while I'm enthusiastic about the future of streaming services, I don't want movie theaters to go away. I mean, some of you are dancing on the grave of Hollywood, which I feel is not cool. But I'm not doing that. I don't think this is the end of movie theaters. I think that during this pandemic, when clearly the majority of people don't feel safe going to a movie theater, or you'd have higher ticket sales for Tenet, the industry just needs to move on. They've tried to hold back for movie theaters, but I just don't think movie theaters can be saved right now. And I think you can't sacrifice the entire movie entertainment industry and all the other businesses that rely on it. And also just people, you don't want your customer base to go away. You don't want people to stop watching movies and fully transition to streaming series, right? So I think, movie theaters, in an effort to save movie theaters, they could endanger everything else. So I feel bad. Movie theaters are just going to be a casualty temporarily. And I think they will definitely again return, maybe under new ownership, maybe reimagined. Maybe they need to be reimagined even if this pandemic hadn't hit. But they will return. There's still no way to get over. There's not even Netflix can have a single movie gross over $1 billion. Only movie theaters can do that. And so they will, like Avengers, they will return. And the Avengers are the ones who make the most money in theaters these days. But as for now, yes, the studios are starting to come around. For weeks, I've been telling you on Movie Math and other videos that the studios need to use this pandemic to build up their streaming services. Where there is money. They want money? Here's some money. Netflix makes so much money. I just was talking to you about this on Sunday. Netflix makes so much money. They can produce a never-ending stream of high-quality, big-budget content, and also produce a revenue that has made all the other studios get into the streaming business, which was not an inexpensive thing to do. So yeah, there's gold in streaming services. Let's go get some of it. So since Disney built these streaming services, they might as well use them, especially when most people aren't willing to go to the multiplex. I know some of you are like, I'm going, Grace, I'm willing to go. Well, again, this is a mass market business. It doesn't matter if a handful of you are willing to go, no matter how enthusiastic or supportive you are. Enough people need to go to make it worth it from a financial perspective. Now, I also, before we get further into the conversation of the movies, I do feel for movie theaters and their employees. Now, when I say they're a casualty, that means that the government really needs to step up, not studios. Studios are privately owned. Well, they're owned by investors, but they're one private business isn't responsible. I mean, one business isn't responsible for another business. I guess you could say, well, don't they want a place for their movies to show eventually? Again, that's not going to be a problem. The question is, who's going to save the people who are running the movie theaters right now and are working at them right now? That's for the government to step up and do. And hopefully, after this election, whatever administration is in the office will take care of that. It's very important. And that's why things like economic relief and stimulus checks are so crucial, because some people, there's just no getting around it. They're going to be out of work. And the government, people pay taxes so that when this happens, the government steps up and takes care of them. So it's really horrific that the government hasn't been doing that. And I guess I said, someone else, studios aren't worried. Someone will, maybe it'll even be the studios. Someone will go in and buy movie theaters when movie theaters are going to come back if they need to and have them up and running. That's not a concern. The only question is, how long is it going to be? So we have known, but Hollywood is now realizing that 2020 at least is done when it comes to theatrical releases. So there's only a few left in here. And Pixar's Soul was probably one of the last big ones. There's the Fox Disney movies, Free Guy and Death on the Nile, but Disney doesn't care about those because they didn't make them. Warner Brothers just moved Dune, so they only have Wonder Woman still in play. And again, movie theaters have said they need a domino effect of movies to make it worth it for them to reopen. And so with Soul now gone, even if Wonder Woman wanted to open in theaters, we'll get to Wonder Woman in a moment, but it probably couldn't. Free Guy might not be able to. Death on the Nile might not. Who knows what's going to happen? Well, War with Grandpa hits theaters tomorrow, but how about Freaky? How about The Croods 2? There might not be any theaters to play them in. We'll see what happens. This is, again, a developing situation. So Pixar's Soul is not only coming to Disney Plus on Christmas Day, but again, it will be at no extra cost. Ouch, Bob! That must sting. But I liked the idea too. But as I said also recently on Movie Math, it's become clear that the economic downturn that we've had because of the pandemic has made it impossible for this kind of a price point to exist. Also, super not cool that they sold it for $30 when it went to PVOD this week with all the extras. But yet, well, I paid $30 for it on Disney Plus. I didn't get a lot of those extras. That is like really uncool. Really uncool, Bob. Really uncool. I'm talking to you, Chapek. I'm talking to you, not Bob Iger. He's like, I'm on the way out. He's like, I saw the writing on the wall, on the private wall for people on the inside, and that's why, Bob, I gave you this job. Or like the bad part of it, because they're still kind of supposed to be splitting the CEO position. But yeah, Premier Access is dead, at least for now. So yeah, Disney could put Soul on premium video on demand, as they have just done with Mulan. And Mulan got to number one. For the first day, it wasn't number one, but whoo, it got to number one on the second day. It was on PVOD. And so it seems to be doing okay. I mean, I don't know. We'll find out maybe on Disney's Investor Day on November 12th, I believe it is, we'll find out what the exact numbers are for this. But they're cobbling together whatever kind of situation they can. Although Tenet, as we discussed on Movie Math also, clear winner when it comes to releasing those two films and their two different strategies. But again, I think that because there isn't a way to really effectively release a blockbuster film at this point in theaters or on PVOD or even on a streaming, well, I think the Mulan situation, while it was on Disney Plus, was basically like a cheating PVOD situation, basically for a purchase price. I think that take the smaller films, grow the streaming service, get your money that way. And I think Soul is an excellent candidate for that. And Disney Plus needs to grow. They're only at 60 million subscribers, which of course is way better than HBO Max. HBO Max, I think, is still in like under 10 million, but still, Disney Plus is way behind Netflix, which is at 190 million worldwide. So Disney needs to keep climbing. Now, for countries where Disney Plus has not yet debuted, don't worry. Soul will get a theatrical release, and Disney said it's working on setting those dates. I don't know how long you're going to have to wait for it, but apparently you will eventually get it. It's basically what Warner Brothers is doing with The Witches on HBO Max. That will be released on HBO Max later this very month, no extra cost, and it will be released overseas theatrically because HBO Max has poor distribution. They weren't like, wherever doesn't have HBO Max. They're like, yeah, we know pretty much nobody has HBO Max, so you guys can watch it in theaters. All right, next front for Soul, what about the Oscars? Don't worry about it, not a problem. Remember, the Academy changed their rules this year, so Soul still qualifies, even though it's totally skipping theaters. And really, it's a slam dunk for Best Animated Feature this year. So Disney Pixar just needed to get it out there. I think that to them was like a bottom line. They can't give up that potential Oscar win. Well, I think, as I said, pretty much guaranteed Oscar win. Then, Wonder Woman 1984. Man, this movie, this just can't catch a break. It's currently set to hit theaters on Christmas Day. Now, as I tweeted earlier this very week, or it might have even, it was, just very recently. It might have been last week. I think it was earlier this week. We're losing all perspective on time. But I heard that Warner Brothers is now jumpy about their release. First, I heard Wonder Woman would move. But then I heard, as I told you yesterday during my live stream, from people I know within the industry, very high up in the industry, in fact, that there's a rumor within Hollywood that many are taking very seriously, which is why my contact talked to me about this, and said that Wonder Woman 1984 is considering a simultaneous release in theaters and on digital on Christmas Day. And while Patty Jenkins was also yesterday doing a Christopher Nolan in the press, being like, I love movie theaters, I love you, I won't abandon you. Last night, she retweeted a tweet about the very rumor I discussed with you about a simultaneous release in theaters and on digital. And she used it as evidence that she, in her words, is 100% behind theaters. Because as I tweeted, she clearly feels that's a loophole where she can still say she supports theaters, but offer an alternative to see the movie. Well, that would make you 50% behind movie theaters, Patty, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think this is the way to go, but I just wouldn't say I'm 100% behind movie theaters. They're like, then you would not do this. And clearly, Disney must have also felt this rumor had weight, because why on earth would you otherwise swoop in and take that December 25th date instead of debuting Soul on Disney Plus November 20th for Thanksgiving, another awesome holiday, when Soul was already set to debut? I mean, Disney's a super aggressive company. This is a really aggressive move. It kills any plans Warner Brothers had to release Wonder Woman 1984 in theaters and PVOD. Because that would mean you'd have to, again, pay to watch the film, which as a superhero blockbuster film is supposed to have family appeal. Now, Soul just became a much cheaper option, a free option if you're already subscribed to Disney Plus. So that's a disaster for Warner Brothers. So PVOD is out of the question. They could do an HBO Max release the same way at no extra cost, but this Wonder Woman is a very expensive movie. It's a tentpole pick. It's supposed to go up to $1 billion or close to it. There's just still, as we said, I talked to you about at the beginning of this video, there's no evidence to release a big budget blockbuster that way. I mean, Soul is a smaller movie, and again, Disney Pixar has another goal with Soul, and that's to win an Oscar. Wonder Woman, that's not in the cards for Wonder Woman. Certainly not to the degree that it would change Warner Brothers' decisions on how to release it. So Warner Brothers, to me, the only option I see for Wonder Woman at this point is to move up and take the Thanksgiving spot and be like, all right, fine, we'll go first. And to release for Thanksgiving in theaters and also on PVOD, which again, you would purchase the movie at a price point, or rent it purchase it for $30 or rent it for $20. We'll see what Warner Brothers decides to do. But Disney has certainly really made it even more difficult for them. Twirling their mustache down in Burbank there. Although I believe Warner Brothers is also in Burbank. All right, so anyway, finally, I want to touch on the fact that Disney Plus is carving out a very nice space for itself with representation, with Hamilton, Black is King, and now Soul. This is the right move. It's the smart move. And I guess now it's made even sweeter by the fact that they were able to stick it to WB, which Disney seems to love to do. What do you think? Will you watch Soul on Disney Plus for Christmas? Who's not going to do that? It's fantastic. And also, I guess the more important question is, will you subscribe to Disney Plus in order to do so? And then also, what would you like to see happen with Wonder Woman? There are a lot of options on the table. Again, my vote is to move it up to Thanksgiving, do that simultaneous release. Share those thoughts down below. Subscribe today so we can continue to have these amazing conversations. And of course, you can check out some more such videos right now.